my July reading wrap up. This month I read 7 books and I'm going to be talking about all of them, which I don't always do. So let's get started. First book that I read this month is It Just Me by Miranda Hart. It's like a memoir. Miranda Hart is a comedian, she's an actor. She created one of my favorite shows called Miranda. So I was very excited when I got this. I didn't really I wasn't that crazy about it. It's very much in the tone of her show, and that works for her show. But for this, I guess I was just wanting it to go a little bit more deeper. I mean, she talks about her life. She was like a teenager and stuff that she struggled with, but it's all in a more lighter tone, which is a total choice, and that's fine. It just wasn't really working for me. Next book that I read was The Marriage Plot by Jeffrey Eugenides. So I had read The Virgin Suicides a few years ago. I've read it and I really enjoyed it. And I have his 2 other books, so I thought, let's read The Marriage Plot. Now, I was very much into this. I was like super locked into the story. That being said, you know, there's a post on Tumblr. If I can find it, I'll link it down below. And I'm pretty sure it's not an actual excerpt from a book, but the whole point is like, this is how male writers write women. You get the point of view from basically essentially 3 characters, but it starts off with this one woman, and she's in college about to graduate, and the way she talks is it's very obvious it's written by a man, and it's kind of ridiculous. It's not to the extent as that post on Tumblr, but that's what I kept thinking about. So that being said, I wouldn't recommend this book. Like, I was interested in it. Next book is A Gallery of Children by A.A. Milne. So it's just a collection of short stories about children, and but the last story is actually a poem called Castles by the Sea, and I loved it. I loved it because it's a poem, but the author comes in every now and again to comment on the poem that he's writing. So if you can find that story anywhere, I would particularly recommend that poem, that one, Castles by the Sea, because I really love that. Next book is Everyone's an Alien When You're an Alien Too by Johnny Sun, who I was familiar of Johnny Sun on Twitter because his Twitter account is like him, but he is talking basically through this little alien character, and there's illustrations. But he made a book, and I was first referring to it as a graphic novel, but he refers to it as a 300-page picture book for adults. I was lucky enough that he went on a book tour and he came to Toronto, and I went to it, and I was so happy that I did, because he did a reading, which at first I didn't think he would do a reading, because I didn't know how that would work because it's so visual, but they projected the images up top and he read it, and it worked really well. I loved it. He only read a little bit, obviously, but I kind of wanted him to read the whole thing. And he was also interviewed by Anne T. Donahue, who I love her writing, and she has this fantastic newsletter called That's What She Said, and it's wonderful. It's so wonderful, so it was really great that she was there as well. So like I said, I was familiar with Johnny Sun from Twitter, but I was interested on reading the book, and I heard a lot of things on the internet and Twitter of people really enjoying it, so I was really excited. But I also didn't know what to expect, and I read it in one sitting. I loved it so much. It's so poignant, which maybe by looking at it you wouldn't think so, but it's beautiful, and it's so well crafted, and it's so loving, and it'll make you cry, but in a good way. I didn't cry, but I could see how it could make people cry. Ooh, this book is so special, and I really enjoyed it. So if you have a chance to read this, I would definitely recommend this wholeheartedly. Next book that I read was Reading Lolita in Tehran. I have been wanting to read this for a long time, but I've put it off because I have never read Lolita, and I thought that I would need to, but I don't own Lolita. Torn with whether or not how interested I am in reading it, so I thought, what the heck, let's read it. That's not the only book they discuss in this. It's a memoir, and she is a professor at a university in Tehran. It happens during when the Islamic Republic of Iran kind of take over, and she's a professor. She's an English lit professor. She teaches Western classics, and she talks about Jane Austen and F. Scott Fitzgerald and Henry James. When she no longer can teach, she gathers 7 of her female students to come in her home, and they discuss these books, and they discuss their life, and it's a great book if you love books, but it's also, you get to learn about life during that time in Tehran. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, so if you haven't read the books that they discuss, I'd say it's not that big of a problem. I had read some of them and I hadn't read some of them, so yeah, I'd still say go ahead if you've been interested and don't let that stop you. The next book was Save Me the Waltz by Zelda Fitzgerald. So I've been wanting to read something by Zelda Fitzgerald for a while. So this book is fiction, but what I've read in the introduction and a little bit that I've read online about this is that although it's fiction, it falls very closely to her and Scott Fitzgerald's life. My interest in this book I was interested in the beginning, then I wasn't too interested, and then it kind of went, but then my interest peaked again, so it's alright. I was just really interested in reading something by Zelda Fitzgerald. The last book that I read this month is Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. So if you've been watching this channel for a while, you know I love Stephanie Perkins and especially Anna and the French Kiss, and that I rewatch it, and I reread it every summer. And Stephanie Perkins has a new book coming out. I'm not sure when it comes out, but it's like a horror novel, and I'm excited but also hesitant because horror is not a genre that I like to read or watch, but I will read it because she's writing it, so I look forward to that. So those are the books I read this month. Let me know if you've read any of these books and what you think of them, and also some other books that you've been reading that you've been enjoying. Knowing other books that people enjoy and maybe adding them onto my list that just grows ever so long. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. I don't know how to end these ever. So yeah, bye.